This conference will now be recorded.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amy, could you read the public notice?
Yes, let me just mute this one person. Notice of Lake Placid Village Board public hearing. Please take notice that the Lake Placid Village Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 16, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. in the main floor meeting room at North Elba Town Hall, 2693 Main Street, Lake Placid, New York, concerning the following short-term rental moratorium variance applications. WV Builders LLC for a property located at 2359 Saranac Avenue, tax map number 42.142-36.007. Second is Brendan Wilson and Ann Rinaldi for a property located at 101 McKinley Street, tax map number 42.255-3-1.000. The public is invited to attend in person or online. There will be a GoToMeeting login provided on the village website by end of day Friday, May 13, 2022 at villageoflakeplacid.ny.gov. All interested persons are invited to attend the public hearing and will be given an opportunity to be heard. Signed, Anita Anthony Essling, Village Clerk.
Okay, and just to advise the board that we're actually here to listen to what they have to say and then ask any questions to clarify any questions that we have. Is there anything I've missed, Janet?
No, I think that's accurate.
Okay, and I believe you said
WV
Builders
is
was
first, yes.
Okay. Would you like us to sit? Is this a chair that's
Whatever's
intended
best
for
for
the hearing? David, do you want to pull up one of
Sure.
those chairs? Come join me. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Allison McGahey. I'm an attorney here in town. With me and present to my left is David Berger, the applicant on behalf of WB Builders. I had submitted an application with the correct fee amount in April, along with a letter from my client. My client's here to answer any questions that you may have. But today I also supplemented that application with some documents that I wanted to make sure that you were aware of today here at the meeting. Last week, when I learned of today's meeting, I did contact Anita as village clerk to ask her if there were any rules or parameters or list of factors to be considered in whether or not an application would be granted, a variance would be granted for my client. And she let me know that there were no set list of factors to be addressed, that it was more of a financial hardship test. That is also what I read in the newspaper this past week, that variances for the moratorium would be granted if a financial hardship was established. Is that my understanding? Is there anything that I got wrong about that?
It's actually a two-pronged test. It's practical difficulty or financial hardship.
One or the other?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so a little bit about this property, in case you're not familiar with it, and I have every reason to believe that this board is familiar with the property. This is 2359 Saranac Ave, commonly referred to as the Charlie Walsh House. So on one side of it is, of course, the hotel. On the other side is the Aroma Round, or formerly High Peak Cyclery, which has been vacant for years. It's a commercial district with another hotel across the street, a dentist office, and St. Agnes Church. This property, prior to my client buying it last year, was already a short-term rental property. Under the previous owners, Johnson Builders, they had applied and had a 1-year short-term rental permit for that property. I attached that proof in here as exhibit, it's possibly number 2. So exhibit number 2 is proof from Code Enforcement's office that there was a short-term rental permit previously in place. If you go back to Exhibit 1 on the page before, you go back to Exhibit 1 on the page before, this is the MLS listing, which is what induced my client into buying this property. The MLS listing for the property proudly boasted that this property was in the Gateway Corridor, a commercial district with unlimited short-term rentals and a valid short-term rental permit in place. My client knew at that time that rental permits are not transferable, but his intention was to live in it while his son went to Northwood, renovate the property, which he has done at great expense, and then when his son was done going to Northwood, follow his son wherever his son went next, because he's a teenager, needs his parents with him, and rent it out as a short-term rental. That happened a little bit more quickly than expected. His son Roman stayed at Northwood for a while before deciding to take an opportunity in New Jersey at another school. So the family left with their son. That occurred at the exact moment that the short-term rental moratorium went into effect. The renovations that my client has done to the property are not really residential renovations. They are exceptional. The renovations that he completed were done in a manner to allow it to be a commercial property at great expense.
That door should be open. Make it open, that door.
When my client had decided to look at realtors to assist him with short-term rentals, not knowing that this moratorium was coming down the pike, my client met with Engel and Volkers, who prepared what is attached as Exhibit 3, which is a document that breaks down the expected revenue that this property would bring in if a short-term rental permit were granted during this moratorium period. And as you can see, they're talking about an earning potential of $150,000 between the period of May 1st to September 8th, 2022. So the numbers that were included in my client's letter and application to all of you in April were not numbers that he fabricated. They were done with a real financial analysis by John Holmes of Engel and Volkers. Moving on, Exhibit 4 is the board's most recent map, which once again shows that nothing has changed about this property's location. It is being deemed to be in the main corridor with an approach towards intense commercial use, with hotels and B&Bs currently being allowed. This is not one of the village neighborhoods that I know this board is seeking to protect. This is a heavy commercial district. Exhibit 5 was only the Adirondack Daily Enterprises interview with you, Mayor Devlin, in which they asked you about what sort of factors would be considered when determining whether or not to grant a variance. If this board opts to not allow my client this variance, it will be effectively depriving him of any opportunity to make any income off this property, which will now be sitting vacant after him purchasing it at a price of well over $1 million, which is mortgaged. He has a mortgage payment to make. And also depriving him of any opportunity to recoup any of the investments that he's made in the modifications that have been made to the property to make it a commercial property.
Am I allowed to ask questions now or wait till you're done?
Do you want me to be done?
No, but you're saying no opportunity to recoup any investment. In the meantime, he could rent them out long term. You're saying that's not possible for that house?
It's possible, it's not the same price.
No, it's not, but you just said there's no opportunity to recoup any money. I'm just curious. I just was curious if there wasn't a reason you couldn't go long term until the moratorium would go over.
Doesn't make business sense.
Okay, I just asked a question.
Any other questions for my client?
Yes. How have you been using the property since the moratorium went into place?
Personally,
So you are getting use out of it?
Yeah, I'm traveling a lot. Whiteborn, my caretaker, can attest to this. They're essentially taking care of the home. I travel frequently. I'm back and forth, probably here 2 or 3 times a month. So I am using it. It's the CO has not been signed off on yet, so there's not a lot I can do with it right now. Part of that is because I'm waiting for this process to work through the system.
You said, I'm sorry, you said I am staying there. Is that to, should I assume that your family is not with you?
That's correct.
Where is your family?
So my son Roman is with his uncle in Wyoming. My wife is also there part-time. She travels a lot as well. She's between Wyoming with family and Fort Collins with family while I try and finish this year.
When do you expect to get your CO?
I have smoke detectors to do, and I just finished installing today 3 out of 4 railings. So I have 1 railing and smoke detectors, and according to Mike, I should be done.
So is it fair to say you couldn't rent the house at this time because you don't have a CO?
That's part of the reason why I'm in the pickle I'm in. For those of you who don't know, I'm a builder. I've got an open permit with the building department, and I probably could have gone to the building department last October and said, come tell me what needs to be done so I can get the permit signed off on. I don't like spinning people's wheels, and I have respect for other people in the industry, so I wanted to get as close as I could to the finish of the project before I called Mike. So in my mind, I haven't asked my insurance agent, but there's certainly a railing going down a steep staircase that I think would preclude it to be safely rented to anybody.
Is the property currently for sale?
No.
And when the moratorium?
Depends, are you a buyer?
No, although I did grow up in that neighborhood. When the moratorium ends, if a short-term rental permit was to be issued, what would be your intended use of the property? How would you use it personally sometime and rent it, or are you out of here and you just rent it all the time?
It's hard to say. My wife and I have talked about that a lot. I mean, I think, we lived in New Jersey. We're going back to New Jersey. It's about a 4.5 hour drive. We looked at moving here as kind of an adventure. We love Lake Placid. We love the town, the city, the history, all that stuff. We're eventually going to end up out west near her family. So I think, to answer your question, we don't know, but I suspect we'll be here periodically, maybe Christmas, a month or so in the summer. But the basis really for me even considering purchasing the home was to be able to rent it. So I'm going to need to be able to do that for it to make any sense at all.
I don't have any other questions.
Anybody else on the board? Okay.
I've got a statement I'd like to make.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you want to say something first?
No.
Okay. So thanks, Allison. I appreciate that. I don't think I'm going to take a ton of time. I've got about a page of notes I just want to talk to you a little bit about. I run the risk of boring you because I'm going to repeat some of what she said. I'm also going to repeat some of what was in the application, but I feel like it's important for you to hear it from me. So if you can just bear with me for a few minutes to go through a few of these things. Certainly I want you to ask questions if you need any clarifications. I first of all don't want to make any assumptions of what the decision is going to be or what the considerations are, but I've got some notes from your meeting on the 5th of May, which was the information session. There's a few maps. Allison, you referred to a few of these. The first one's the main corridor. It's clear that my house is in the main corridor. The second one is the town and village neighborhoods. My house is not in a town or village neighborhood, so I'm outside of that zone. And then third map that, again, I don't want to make any assumptions, but this is the map, this is your map, it's the current map that shows unhosted rental permits. And without being able to zoom in on it, it sure looks to me like the blue one is my house. So if that's a current map, I don't want to go through all this if I already have a license. Is that map incorrect?
Well, the dock would probably, I'm just guessing, would probably been, you said there was a pre-existing owner that
Okay.
rented.
Okay. I just wanted to,
And that dock would disappear when his permit ended.
which
I don't know for
theoretically
sure,
would have
but you
been
can
when
check
he sold
with
the
Mike.
house, right?
You can check with Mike to see if that's why. I mean, a lot of what's on there is just one of the guys in our electric department doing his best to interpolate the map.
Yeah, understood. Which the maps are great, they're helpful.
It doesn't, gives you a general idea.
Of course, yeah, great. I'm sure you've all read the variance application. It outlines the basis for my request. And to your point, one of those core requirements is to provide clear demonstration of the financial hardship. We've talked about some of the numbers. They're pretty straightforward. In fact, I went to 2 different rental agencies, and really the difference between those two, only for the 6-month moratorium, was $118,000 to $150,000 in lost rental income. That number is now climbing higher. So because I do not have a short-term rental license, I'm having to stop on several capital infrastructure projects that, in my mind, are required, like railings, like a fence in the backyard. If I'm going to rent it, those things need to be done. And if I'm denied that license, I'm not going to be able to rent it. So I'm not going to spend that money now. So that 6 months is increasing in time. And so that $150,000 is going up. What I didn't contemplate in my letter attached to the application was the hundreds and thousands of dollars in renovation costs. And you mentioned this, what I seriously consider commercial upgrade costs. So to me, that's a lot of money. To me, it's my business. To me, it's my livelihood. If I lose that money, I'm seriously upside down all over the place. It really is a financial hardship. I want you to understand some of the factors that went into my decision before I actually said, yeah, I'm going to buy this house. So our son, yes, he was accepted to Northwood. One of the first conversations my wife and I had was, slow down, you got accepted. My wife and I work out of the house, so we're mobile. We again thought living in Lake Placid would be a great adventure for a year or two. We wanted to give our son, being the first time out of the house, kind of that comfort to know that we were close, but not too close, trying to kind of give him a soft landing. So we first started looking at rentals. We looked at apartments, we looked at condos. In fact, that's how I met Jen Ledger, our real estate agent. She had a townhome that she was finishing up kind of over behind Lisa G's. We even contemplated waiting until another one of her projects was going to be done, which was several months down the road. It was pretty clear based on the real estate market, just limited availability. It was very tight. We couldn't find anything. And so we started looking in Saranac Lake, as far as Plattsburgh. We looked up in Wilmington. And based on my experience as a builder, we started to have the conversation, why don't we look for a fixer-upper? And that's where some of this STR conversation came into play. So some of the very first meetings, I remember calling and talking to Becca, some of my very first meetings before I started looking at homes to buy was calling rental agencies and saying, what does the rental market look like? Tell me about who they are, and how long do people rent? How many nights would you expect out of a unit? I would look at their listings online. So when the home became available, it was marketed as an STR, gateway corridor with unlimited nights. I could rent that thing short-term, 365 nights a year, zoned commercial and residential. It had multiple uses. I can look out my kitchen window and see a bedroom at the hotel next door. I can throw a baseball to the parking lot of the High Plains Hotel across the street. So it checked a lot of boxes. It made business sense. If someone would have suggested to me that a year later, you're not going to be able to rent this home, I would never have bought it. I would have said to my son, Roman, it's not going to work out. We need to stay in New Jersey. It just doesn't make financial sense for us as a family to move. I wouldn't have done it. Some of the financial realities, we were renting in New Jersey at the time for $8,000 a month. It was a significant expense at the time. We had listed our home the year before COVID hit. We sold it much quicker than we expected. And like everybody else, we started looking for a rental. So rental prices were extremely high. I'm self-employed. My income is pretty much all over the board based on the projects that I enter into and how profitable they are. We know the story about labor and materials, supply chain shortages. All of this took a lot more time and money than I expected. The building itself, you mentioned this a little bit. I really built it to a higher standard. So the house is 115 years old. It's got history here in Lake Placid. Prince Andrew slept there. One of the Stevens' sons was a bobsledder, friends with Prince Andrew. So there's a lot of history. Just the home itself has so much character. I wanted to give that home another 100 years in Lake Placid. I wanted to do it right, and that's how I do my projects anyway. A couple of examples. I added things like a second set of washers and dryers. So for a family of 3, why would you add a second set of washers and dryers? You don't need that. I renovated every single bathroom. I added an additional bathroom. I added a deck on the back. I renovated the kitchen. The appliances in the kitchen are appliances that are going to withstand the wear and tear from renters. So every decision I made was knowing that I could recoup those costs by being able to rent this home. The heating and electrical systems, it had asbestos, first of all, which is now gone, but it had 6-inch pipes, which were the supply lines for the radiators. I had to heat up 1,000 gallons of water before any of the rooms would even begin to get warm. So every single supply and return line to every single radiator is brand new. Being a residential house, my wife and I staying there, I would never have spent that money. I had an alarm. Who needs an alarm in Lake Placid? Seriously, but the house is going to be vacant in between rentals, so it made sense. It made sense to put an alarm, made sense to integrate heat sensors, water sensors. I've got a water shutoff switch. If there's a leak, it automatically turns the water off. These are all things that turn this home into, it's a commercial rental property. It's really what it's designed for now. That's how I built it. I've got a mortgage on it. It's not an interest-only mortgage. I did the numbers. I can rent this place. It would make enough money that I did a 30-year fully amortized mortgage. So now I've got some additional cost paying that principal every single month. It just shows you what I was anticipating and the decisions I made. I'm guilty of this too. So it's easy to make assumptions about people you don't know. And it's unfair until you have all the facts. So don't make assumptions about me because I bought a $1.4 million house, because I put hundreds of thousands of dollars into the renovations, or the cars I drive. It's just not fair. The only thing that's important here is that if I lose that money, it's bad. And it's bad for me in a lot of ways.
You've got me interested now. What car do you drive?
The one I think that someone made a snarky comment on was a Porsche.
Oh. Okay.
It's my wife's.
Did you say the one? Or was
I know you just
it's Porsche.
I just know there was a car problem.
Yeah. I'm almost done. The final perspective here is that it was a business decision. It was sold to me as an STR. The numbers made sense for me to take that risk. I got to have the ability to recoup those costs. And if I can't, it's a financial hardship. It's such a stupid explanation, but all I can say is it will be bad for me if I lose up to $150,000 only in 6 months of rental income, plus the hundreds of thousands that I put into it. And I'll close by saying I hope that you can see these facts We came here to watch our son play hockey. We felt like it was better to move and spend the money here, knowing that we'd have the ability to rent the place. It's in the Gateway corridor. I'm surrounded by commercials, hotels, and rentals. It was marketed as an STR. Losing that money is a financial hardship. I appreciate your consideration. I want to work with you. I want to answer any questions so you understand why I'm asking for this variance.
I
Thank
do have
you.
one last question. You said you moved here. Did you say you moved from, was it New Jersey?
That's right.
Did you sell your home in New Jersey?
We sold it about 2.5 years ago.
Okay, so this became your home then.
Yeah, that's right, primary. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
I apologize, I came in a little bit later. You had mentioned that you didn't apply for the permit initially, even though you purchased it, and that was your intent.
Yeah. So I tried to explain that a little bit. I called Mike, again, being in the industry, respect for the building department, the building staff. I could have called him in July or August and said, Mike, tell me where I am. What do I need to get done? I wanted to be 95% done before I spun his wheels up, made him come over and build me a punch list. I knew what the punch list was. I literally called him, I think it was 5 days after the moratorium went effect, and said, hey, Mike, I'm super close. I think I've got a couple of things. You want to come take a look before I apply for my license? And he said, you can't get a license. And I said, what? And I mentioned this. I'm new to the area. Policies, politics, whatever. I didn't know you had a newspaper. I didn't know there was a thing about all these short-term, and I'm sorry, maybe I
Even
should.
some of us know how to read, believe it or not.
That's not what I meant. So in hindsight, for sure, my bad. I should have applied for the license. I guess I really just assumed, I really looked at the building permit as a CO, certificate of occupancy. And I really felt like even if I applied for the license, I wouldn't get it granted because I didn't have the railings and the smoke detectors. I knew that. So I wanted to get those things done to have Mike go, oh, okay, you're good, signed off, here's your thing. It was really out of respect for him and his department.
And
But
you-
now I'm paying for it.
And you really just missed it by a hair.
Any other questions? Going once?
Can I ask you a question?
You bet, sure.
So I know we've got 30 days once this is all said and done, right? Who are the principal players that discuss this and make a decision? Who's
I think
that?
it's just our board.
So who is that?
I'm the mayor, deputy mayor, and
Okay,
3 trustees.
okay. And I know this is it's a moving target, it's a discussion. What happens after 6 months? Can you give me any?
You mean after the moratorium
Yeah.
over? It's a chance for us to take a breath and look at what's going on. We put a vacation rental process in place. It was never to be the answer. We had a lawsuit, we had a delay for a full year, and now we're finally getting a chance to come back and review it, see what the local people want, make decisions.
There's a meeting at the high school shortly about this issue.
Yeah.
Tonight.
5:30.
So
But the ultimate end goal is that after a reevaluation process and public input, there may be some modification to the STR law and the regulations, and then moving forward after that.
Do you consider this to be a new short-term rental just because of the change in ownership, even though it previously was a short-term rental?
Are you
And
asking
then
me personally, or are you asking me as a
No,
board?
the board.
Okay, you're looking at me, I was just like, well, I don't know, I'm not that important.
I gotta pick something.
I'll try to answer that.
Look at art, I'm like, I'm just.
I think the law is clear that these permits were never transferable to start with. So it's not an issue of whether they can be or can't be. A permit is issued to the property owner at the time. And that ends when that property owner sells the property. And then there's a new application process. That's the law.
So it's a new short-term rental property every time, even if there's only a change in ownership, but nothing changes about the home, the infrastructure of the home, the character of the home, the number of bedrooms, number of parking spaces.
That's correct.
Okay, we thank you very much for coming in.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and our second public hearing. Welcome.
Thank you. As I said, it's the first time I've been to anything like this, so I'm going to try to roll through it as best I can. So I'm assuming you all have kind of what I wrote up, so I can give a quick, there you go, easy to see on that too, right? Yeah, I figured I'd just kind of give a quick recap as to our thought and process and kind of where we're at now, and then obviously open to any questions as we go through it. But my partner, Annie, is joined us through Zoom, so hi, honey. But we had been looking for a place in Lake Placid for a while. I grew up in the Saratoga area and have spent a good deal of time, basically any time that I can get up in the area. It's always been a dream of mine to be able to own a place up here and to eventually move up here in time. I was kind of talking a little bit earlier to some of the people, but somehow I convinced Annie to, when looking towards our future, instead of moving south, to move north, which I think is no small feat. But anyways, we had been looking for a while, and obviously knew the housing market in Lake Placid, and things were moving quickly on the market. There was a couple of other places that we had seen in time and missed out on them, but our ultimate goal is in a few years, after Andy's able to retire, is to be able to move up here. I work from home and travel, so I can be a little bit more mobile. Andy's a teacher, and wanted to finish out her time there. So
When you say a few years, that can mean that's real open-ended.
sure.
You have a rough idea?
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
3 to 4.
Okay.
So yeah, so our plan basically was, if we find something that, depending on when we did, that we would, and I had talked to some people about renting. In fact, I have a friend here who has done the same, and kind of has the same goals as I do. And we had hoped that we'd be able to kind of spend as much time as we can here, in the hopes of getting something and then eventually moving up here full time, making it a permanent residence. Something, it came up, the house that we bought on McKinley Street came up on the market in late January. It was actually kind of funny, it was a Thursday, and I'm usually not this impulsive, but we did a FaceTime walkthrough with our agent on Saturday, and then ended up wanting to, move forward with it, put a bid in. So we did that, and it was beginning of February. I knew about the short-term rental permits, and I guess maybe I didn't do enough research, but I kind of thought that was just something that if you wanted to apply for it, you would go ahead and do that. I certainly know the issues with kind of housing and stuff in Lake Placid, and have been reading, quite a bit about that in recent years. So anyways, we had hoped that if we were able to get a short-term rental permit, that we'd be able to offset some of the costs of having two homes. And then eventually, again, being able to sell one and move here full time. So as we went through the process of purchasing our home, I had heard some things about the rental permits maybe being a moratorium being put in place. That was, I think, in like early March. Our closing date was set for March 18th, and I think it was 4 days before where the moratorium was put on short-term rentals. So Annie and I are in a position to, we really kind of put a lot of our life savings into purchasing the home, and again, had hoped to offset the cost of our mortgage and everything with being able to rent it out when we're, some of the time when we're not here. And then obviously with the moratorium that put a hold on that. So I know I have some figures, and I just based it off of what our mortgage will be and just the expenses of running our home for the next few months until the moratorium is lifted. But I know it would be in excess of $25,000. And again, after kind of emptying our accounts to buy the place in the first place, it would certainly create a hardship on our end, not being able to do that. And then obviously too, just moving forward, not knowing what the future would look like, could be difficult for us. So I didn't know enough about, I guess, the rental permits. Again, I thought that there was something that you could get, and it wasn't really, as long as your house was up to code and everything, it wouldn't be much of an issue. I didn't know anything about the moratorium when we put our bid in on the home.
I guess that was a question I had. Your realtor didn't tell you that?
Well, that was in early.
Yeah, it's been in the paper. I mean, we've been trying to get this moratorium for a long time.
Oh, really? Okay. No, I didn't know that. I knew that the house had.
Who was your realtor, just out of curiosity?
Mark Adler.
Okay.
So, yeah, we did discuss, that afterwards, and, but yeah, I didn't know that there was a moratorium coming up, and had I known, we might have we thought where things were at with purchasing the home.
Just quick, was it a short-term rental before? Like when you
So-
bought it? I looked at photos online, it looked like a short-term rental from the picture, it's a big house.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, we're very excited. I'm so happy I'm actually here today. It was, I think, there was an owner that was there for about a year who did use it as a permanent residence. I know he worked with the Olympic team, and then now had taken another job, I think with the Giants actually. So ended up having to move, but prior to that, I do know that it was a short-term rental. And I know my neighbor was involved in some of the renovations and actually took care of the house too for the person that was renting it out at the time as well. So, and actually I've already had talks with him about if we are able to get the permit, that he would do the same for us.
Any questions?
Oh, I'll steal your question.
Okay. What kind of car do you drive?
No. Have you considered long-term rental?
We have considered that. I mean, one of the things that we had, and we have that an option right now. We were hoping to avoid that if at all possible, because we really want to come up here and use it as part of the thought of us buying it, and especially this summer. As I said, Annie is a teacher, so having the summer off, we had planned to spend a lot of time up here this summer. So that was kind of our plan that we had hoped to do, but that is something that we, I guess, would have to consider if we weren't able to get this.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions of us behind your statement?
No, I was going to say, I appreciate you listening and appreciate you considering this. So, and again, I understand everything why you're here and why these are taking place. But I appreciate the fact that you listen to our story, and I guess we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, so at this point, I believe that will conclude our public hearing. Is there anything I need to officially close there?
Just close it. Yes.
Okay, so at this point, we'll close the public hearing. It is 10 minutes after 5. And at this point, I would like to open our regular board meeting. Should we do the pledge of allegiance again? Wave that. We're done. Okay. Let's start right out then with.
Mayor Devlin,
Yes.
isn't there a public comment period?
Good question, yeah.
Actually, since it is a public hearing, I think we do need to allow the public
That
to
was what was in
speak.
the newspaper.
My understanding is this was just a public hearing, these two people, but.
That's correct. It's not a public hearing to get comment.
I mean,
That's
I'm-
not how it was written in the newspaper.
I am, unless the board has an objection, I'm happy to hear what you have to say in our board meeting, though, that would be.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me-
You can go first.
Sure. Does anyone have any objection if I let her
You
speak?
have to reopen the public hearing.
Can she not just speak at the public board meeting as a public comment?
You can do that, yes.
Okay, I mean, unless,
Yes, you can do that.
can you give me an idea what your comment is in respect to, I mean, is it something I need to go to public hearing, or is it something you'd like to put towards the?
It's specific to the two cases that were just presented. Because our understanding, based on what was in the newspaper, was that the public would have an opportunity to comment.
Okay, we'll make that more clear on the other. Jenna, you tell me, should I open the other public hearings for the minutes?
It doesn't matter. They can all be
Very good,
public input.
please,
Thank you. Make that one.
either way, I'm still on it.
Okay, all right.
I think anybody with a comment should state their name and address.
Sure. My name is Shelley Reynolds. I live at 25 Beach Hill Circle in a modest 2-bedroom cottage home.
How many cars do you have?
We own 2 very old cars, both of which have over 100,000 miles on them.
I'm part of the club.
So first and foremost, thank you to the village board, and I know this is village, but also to the town for instituting the moratorium. Our understanding as part of the community is the moratorium has been a long time coming. This was not something that was done suddenly. Granted, we are not a long time Lake Placid people, but we have been here 6 years. We did do our research and we did our homework before we moved up here as a permanent part of the community. I think it's important to have the moratorium because the short-term rental regulations clearly need to be refined, and there needs to be time, it needs to be thoughtful, it needs to be unhurried, the public needs to be listened to, because as a village board, and I would say the town board as well, you're our representatives. You're making decisions for the community. When I say we, I don't just mean my husband and I mean the entire community. We came here to be part of the community. I do think that tonight is going to set a precedent. The moratorium, as it states right now, is only until September, correct?
Initially, yes.
So at the very least, it seems logical to ask people to at least wait until September. Gives you time, gives the community time. You're set up across the street, right? With the overlay maps and all that kind of stuff.
This would be a good place for you to be talking to.
That's where I'm going to take a look.
Good.
And I appreciate the discussion about commercial corridors. I appreciate the discussion about neighborhoods. I appreciate the emphasis on community. We don't need to sell ourselves as a tourist attraction. We are. I mean, the Adirondack speaks for itself. Tourists want to come here, but we need to keep the community. They can't come at the expense of the community. And in our community, if there are fewer families buying homes, if homes are being turned over to commercial enterprises, and the word commercial was used many times tonight in the presentation of hardship. Fewer families in the community, it's a lower school enrollment, it means fewer people in the workforce, it means fewer people to volunteer their time doing all of the things that make Lake Placid an amazing community. And if you want to see some of those things, go to Community Day and look at all of the people and all of the agencies that are making the community a community for the people in the community. Volunteers, firefighters, volunteer EMS, volunteer trail crews, volunteers for Songs on Mirror Lake. There's a small army of volunteers that puts that on. Volunteers at the food pantry, volunteers for John Brown Lives, volunteers for the Garden Club, for the Osage River and Mirror Lake watershed. I mean, hospice, on. That's what we miss out on when too many places are short-term rentals. I'm not saying nobody should be a short-term rental. I'm saying keep neighborhoods neighborhoods. Keep communities a community.
Keep in mind that you're preaching to the choir. And
Okay, but it's my only public chance to be on my soapbox, okay?
And through Dietrich's presentation, will there be public comments or not?
I have no idea.
No chance for a public comment?
No, I mean, what it is at there's little sticky notes that go on each map. I mean, they have an opportunity to speak with Dean. It's a one-on-one, just like the Camoin study was.
Owning a second home, particularly a $1.5 million home, is the antithesis of financial hardship, no matter how you slice it. Not being aware of something that has been going on in the community for several years, not bothering to make a phone call to the town or the village to be informed on your $1.5 million investment, that is not a financial hardship. That is a terrible inconvenience. It is an oversight. It is a gigantic oops. Nobody guarantees my investments. My husband retires in 2 weeks. Our 401k is not looking so good. I don't have any board that I can go to about that. It is what it is, right? So based on what I've heard, I think the moratorium, which is only until September, is inconvenient, but it needs to stay. Nobody has proved financial hardship. At the very least, because this is precedent setting, those people should have to wait until September. They should wait until the new regs go into place. And it sounds like either of those places may very well end up being more towards the commercial and might not have a problem with short-term rental. I don't know. I haven't looked at the overlays yet. Okay, well, so be it. It is what it is. I mean, lack of planning, lack of awareness is not financial hardship. I own one house, 2-bedroom house. I volunteer here. I play here.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Are the other comments going to be all the same? Because I mean, like I say, it isn't that we don't want to hear them, but this is exactly why we called for the moratorium. If you've got something bad, happy to let you add it.
Sure, Karen Armstrong, 61 Acorn Street. And I just want to speak particularly to the moratorium and what was discussed here. Thank you for implementing that. I think that to have this pause is essential, and it was a thoughtful process that both boards went through, so appreciate that. I do think that it was appropriate to have a little carve out for financial hardship, not knowing what what situations would come up. I think that the two situations today, to have a second home, really should not be in the same sentence as financial hardship. And it's not that I'm not empathetic to the issues there, but I do think that it would make a mockery of the moratorium were you to go to, were the community to see that 2 exceptions were granted for second homeowners, saying that they were having a hard time owning a second home when so many people here are really struggling to not even stay in the home they own, but to purchase a new home or to stay in a rental. So I thank you. I thank you for, again, offering, I thank you for coming and speaking. I hope that, the 2 people came here at some point do want to come and permanently join our community for a welcoming place. But I think that the moratorium should stay as it is until September. And I don't feel that these 2 situations really qualify as financial need. So thank you so much, and we're going to go over,
Good.
see the overlays.
Get a little more educated.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Anybody
you
else?
so much.
I have a different opinion. I'd like to
Okay,
state.
sure.
Sarah Mayer. I'm 147 Hillcrest, right on the corner of Acorn Street. I have a second home on Hillcrest.
I mean, you do realize this was a public forum for 2 people.
I know.
As long as you keep
I'm
it short.
on the, they were allowed to speak.
I know, but like I
So
say,
if I
if
could
you
have a
just keep it
moment.
short is all I can say, because we're supposed to be into a board meeting. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I see how it goes here.
No, that's not true. I'm just saying, keep it
This
short.
lady was allowed to speak. I'd just like to say
As long as
1 or
you're
2
short.
sentences,
That's
that would
fine.
be great. We are part of the community. Keela and Jim Rogers are my neighbors. We have a nice relationship with them. My kids love this area. We spend a lot of time here. I think, when the opportunity arises to be able to spend time here and to be able to consider plans to move here permanently, that's important. I do have a second home, but I am an entrepreneur. My husband and I have owned our own business for a very long time. We built that ourselves. So I do believe that moratorium should be accepted, like the exceptions, for people who are just coming in, who don't know Lake Placid yet, who have not been here and understand. We read the newspapers every morning. We're not here all the time, but we read the newspapers, we see what's going on. Maybe not everybody does yet. But it doesn't mean that they're bad people or that we should hold this off. You guys have been in discussions about short-term rentals for a very long time. We understand that. But I think to hold the line and say, no, because people have a second home, they can't possibly have a hardship, financial hardship. I don't think that's appropriate. I have 2 young kids. I am self-made, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't be a hardship if you weren't able to rent it. So I do believe that even though you've all have said in a couple comments, you've already kind of set your mind on this.
I disagree, but thank you for
You
that
say you have the
comment.
same point of view on the moratorium.
The whole reason we called for the moratorium was to take a second look, and that's more or less what she said. I agree with that.
But there
It's a
may be
pause.
exceptions to every rule.
That's why we're here. That's why we set this into our rules.
Right, and I don't think necessarily, there were a lot of things in place, for instance, short-term rental law and regulation that were discussed for many years before it went into place. How did anyone know that the moratorium was going to come exactly when it did? So I do believe that these individuals should be considered. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, I appreciate your opinion. Okay,
Thank you.
and you should probably.
I'm going there, don't worry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Item A, regular board meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passed. QEI LLC service agreements for the electric department. Is everyone familiar with those? Does Blake Kimball or Peter update us on that? They just, okay. Motion to accept?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item B passes as well.
Sit here and tell us about the TCC.
Sure. I like the fact you're ready to go dry at least.
Yeah,
You must have ran.
that's right, quick. So the TCCs, I mean, we only had 1 month where we were subject to congestion. It was in February during the high period, but it was $11,000 worth. And the cost of the TCCs would have exceeded the 11,000. And they're not just insurance against congestion, but when there's counter congestion, that they are a liability. So at this point, I would recommend not purchasing them again this year. So
It was beneficial for us. We've done that the past several years, correct?
probably 4 years we haven't purchased.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Since Kimball.
Well, it became easier once they let you do it year to year.
Okay.
So
Before if you opted out, you were no
you were
longer.
out forever.
Well, we had a conversation about this at the NUA conference, because of the area that we live in, there's less likely to have congestion versus being closer to the city where you're more likely to get congestion.
So you recommend we do not?
Do not.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions on that or questions for Kimball?
But wasn't, like, we rarely bought them, right?
We haven't for 4 years. We did all the years prior to that, we did.
Yeah.
And it was a wash financially.
But not since Kimball's been.
They kind of eroded as the period went along, so.
Okay, entertain a motion to, yep, to accept Kimball's recommendation not to.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Lake Placid Electric Grant Committee letter. Oh, I'm sorry, commitment letter. Refresh me on that. I guess I'm still
People
never
wrote
reading
the
that.
letter.
I didn't write the letter.
That's the,
Trust me, I didn't write it.
that's the one
This
to
allows us
apply
to,
for it, to do the research.
yes, with ANCA.
Everyone's familiar with
Yeah.
that? No.
For electric vehicles, right?
Charging.
Charging
stations, yeah.
Okay, anyone have any questions on that? I think I have the mayor up to speed again. Or could I have a recommendation for motion, please? And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
That motion was to authorize Kimball to sign the letter and send it,
And
correct?
try to apply.
Could either be myself or the mayor.
Okay. Okay, then I'm gonna need a little help from you on this next one, Janet. Actually, is there an electric department hire in here? You want me to do that really quickly while you're still here, Kimball?
Sure.
Okay, let's jump down to H real fast. Kimball's put in for an electric department hire. Anything you'd like to say on that, or is there any
I
questions?
just think he'll be a good addition to the department. He has construction experience and.
To replace Troy.
Yeah, to replace Troy, so.
Does anyone have any questions, Kimball? Do I have a motion to,
So moved. Second.
all in favor?
Right.
Okay,
Feel like seeing boy.
and
We're gonna get eaten by bugs next year, though.
Yeah.
let's also take Ion while Kimball is here, but we did this, I believe, the last 2 years, right? Veteran flags are.
I think you did more than that.
Is it time flies? Yeah, having fun. Anybody have any questions of Kimball about the flag hanging? If I remember right, it coincides with other things, and we have flags up while we have other horse show flags, and.
Yeah,
we've
we're
made it
mostly
work in the
doing
past.
around the Legion, so. But there is another project going on that would be more of the hometown heroes, but I'm not sure the status of that right now.
Okay, let us know when you do. It's all right.
Just drive through Elizabethtown, Mariah, Port Henry,
Peru.
Peru, anywhere you'll see them.
The guy that headed it up kind of burned himself out, so I'm not sure where he's at.
All right, could I have a motion to accept the hanging of veterans flags?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes as well. Anything else on here, Kimball?
No?
Okay.
Do you want to do the fireworks? Just, I'm excited about it, but
Thanks, Kimball.
All right, thank you.
no
Okay,
promotion.
on this next item, E, illuminating concepts. This is the proposal for cameras, but it sounds like we have to go out for bid on the cameras themselves.
Well,
How
Over
should we?
$20,000.
when I read what was going on, and then I called Anita, are we buying these cameras, or is the Adirondack Sports Council buying them?
We are.
Buying them.
Well, yes, we'd have to go out, and then I'm not sure about any privacy issues with all of these. Question number one. Question number two, who's gonna monitor these cameras and look
Police
at them?
department and fire department.
For why? I mean, do
If
we?
they're going to send a fire truck up through Main Street, they need to be able to see if the road is congested, or if they have a problem on Main Street.
Or, I mean, at that corner there, we have almost 60. I mean, we never look at it
I
unless
think
there's an
nobody's
incident.
monitoring the cameras, it's looking back on things or.
Well, they'll be right in the police
But
department.
they're
It
not.
saves you on liability.
They're not
Yeah,
watching
they're
the
not sitting
cameras.
there staring at them all day.
Well,
Are they gonna record over?
Yes.
Because what we've happened in the past, by the time we need them, it's been recorded over.
We're looking at cloud storage as well, so they will not record over, it will just hang on a daily basis.
17 cameras sounds like a little bit of overkill for Main Street.
Oh, we can address
Wasn't
that.
a portion of this Homeland Security developer,
I just asked,
when they did
I
their
just asked.
evaluation, stating that we had, or we needed to have them, or it was because they did a full technological overview of our systems.
and my understanding is it's not the cameras that are the expense, it's the back office equipment that is.
Yeah.
So once you've got a few, you may as well have enough.
Two.
It looked like some are gonna be on private property.
That I don't know.
Well, some of the locations look to be on private property. Do we have permission from the property owner to put them there?
Where
That'd
did
be a
you
good
see-
question for
Where did you
Chuck.
see that?
Well,
I
Anita,
sent her the list that Chuck gave us.
and it looked to me like some are on private property.
I mean, some of the street poles now are on private property. They're within the right of way.
Well, I know that, but
I just sent you a Chuck, I think
No,
Chuck
I wouldn't-
needs to answer
I
this question.
didn't understand it all, but I think we need to verify if they're going to be on private property, do we have permission for them before we go out and buy them?
Well, here's a question, a legal question for you, because I don't know the answer to it. If we have a variance or a right of way for a pole on private property and we put the camera on the pole, are we within our rights to do that?
If we have, many of our poles, we do not have any easements for.
Good to know.
Yeah, but again, on Main Street, for instance, everybody owns to the center of the highway, so but we have no rights to that, the owners of the properties.
Well, they own to the center of the street, subject to the use for highway, not for use for cameras.
Do we have to disclose, do we have to put a sign that says you're being recorded?
I think generally, signs I've seen, they do.
I don't know about that. There may be a few places, probably to scare you into thinking there are cameras, but it's hard to go a lot of places without being watched.
I mean, these are questions that we don't know the answers to.
Privacy is gone when we adopted this, so it's.
Well, that sounds like.
When we adopted what?
I mean, there is no rush.
Need no more privacy.
Janet, there's no rush on how that go in. We've just been talking about it for years now, and we finally acted on it. If you've got some questions that Chuck should run by you, we can.
Yeah, I think we do have questions. I mean, I would think the board might want answers to a couple of those questions.
Okay.
And I don't deny that we've been looking at it for years, and why it's coming up now, I thought was
Today's World
a
University
result of
Games.
the World University Games.
They're going to have their own cameras. They did them before. They did the test where they had the solar unit and the trailer with all the cameras.
So the whole Main Street's gonna be cameras, ours and theirs?
I think if we have ours, they won't need theirs, but we talked about cameras in a long time. The reason we didn't in the past is we didn't have any way to get the information here. We had to do it via remote, and now we're going to have the option of fiber optics, and that's really what spurred this.
I guess,
But you can get the information here.
so I'm a little.
Eventually, I mean, the Olympic Drive is one barrier, we're about 100 feet there that.
Because they talked about Dank doing something.
So I was a little unclear.
We're talking about next few
When
months.
Chuck
doing this.
said it was for the World University Games, you're saying that the World University has their own security cameras?
Well, when they were here before, they did a test and they had their own.
That thing by the high school, by Cummins.
That was.
So are they gonna place
I can't
cameras?
tell you that.
Oh, okay.
Like Iron Man, they probably put 20 cameras up for Iron Man.
But I mean, this is something we've
But they
talked
take them
about for
down.
a long time. This is what I brought up at the workshop, that we want to pursue it, and that's what we're doing. But certainly Janet brought up some valid questions, so let's just table it for now. Let her and Chuck and,
So you'll ask Chuck to get in touch.
All right, so I'll move the table.
in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's considered a table.
Kimball has to have a way to get the fiber to here. If not, we're.
If it's 100 feet, we'll find a way to do that.
Is fiber here?
Yeah.
There's fiber here.
It's fiber here, but it doesn't make it all the way here from Main Street.
You said slick, but I thought in the proposal they're talking about Dank.
Well, I think Slick is what provides us with
The
internet
service.
service here. Dank's line runs in. That whole thing is just super confusing. Way too many fiber companies.
Okay, so at this point, this would be good if you guys to work this out. Janet's question. Okay, yeah. CNS fencing, this is for the proposed McKinley Street park fencing for the new playground equipment that's coming from the LEAF grant. Is everyone familiar with that?
Well, I think the whole project is being funded by LEAF, even the cost of the fencing.
Cost of the fence, so it's
Yes.
just us
So
getting
this is
permission to
just
put the
an
fence
okay
on.
for them to proceed.
Because, well, eventually we were gonna put a pickleball court and they need, I don't know, Brad said we needed fencing.
Or pickleball.
No, we're not talking pickleball.
The lax field is gonna be.
The pickleball.
There better be volleyball too.
My understanding is the pickleball court is being moved to the lacrosse field.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I know there's
So
a
am
big-
I okay to sign the CNS fencing
So-
company proposal?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
Most people want pickleball up here in the center of town.
Okay, so we had a first and a second, is that correct?
Yeah,
All in
just as
favor?
an FYI, the playground equipment they've purchased is $14,000 and the shipping cost is $8,000.
Nice.
So they're in a little bit of a bind. And we've reached back out to Leaf to see if we could get some emergency
Can you
funding.
go pick it up?
I don't know where it is.
It's over in Lake Clear.
No, the new, they added more playground
Did they?
equipment. Yes, because some of the playground equipment wasn't usable, but to make it better, wonderful, whatever. So, just letting you know that, shipping costs have, it cost me $90 to fill up my car today. Does anybody care?
We can.
You should look into getting an electric car.
I probably should.
Okay, so
There's a first and a second.
I know, but now you've got me concerned that we've approved something that you don't know if you have enough money to finish.
No, we have enough money.
Okay, very good. Okay, all in favor? Okay.
It's $5 now, isn't it?
Okay,
We'll start walking.
appearance committee, Peacock Park proposal, we've all had that, we've all looked at that. I don't know why I thought we'd already approved that, but I guess we haven't. Anyone have any questions?
Well, we didn't approve it, and when I talked to Lori today, the reason why we do need a formal motion on it is they're going out to get grants. They need a formal motion. I make a motion to approve the appearance committee's Peacock Park proposal plan.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So fast. Good luck. Okay, moving HI down to J. This is an annual request, Lake Placid Horse Show, wanting to use the snowfield. I hear a motion to accept that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Isn't Niagara Mohawk using those, the snowfields? Did Niagara Mohawk come in and they
Not till
wanted?
September.
Okay,
That's right.
because they wanted the staging grounds, okay.
So I'm seeing, and I'm going back and it's been a long day for me. So the plan for grants, that includes fencing for the beach. That I'm being really opposed against.
That, no, the fencing we're discussing is just the fencing on McKinley Street for the park.
No.
No, the other one, Jason, is they're looking to put a fence between the community church and the entrance by the toboggan run.
Yeah.
And the other fence.
Yeah, that's a split rail.
The other fence, that's actually a metal.
Metal.
The other fence they're talking about is where the outlet of the lake is down to the beach, replacing that with a metal fence. And then I believe there's a third fence. Oh, they're talking about the railing going down by the toboggan chute.
Okay. All right.
To my knowledge, that's the three that they're referring to.
Okay. I just see beach fencing.
Yep. Let's see. Okay, so we're back to, I'm sorry, did we do it? Everyone approved the snowfield request?
I think someone was talking about.
Niagara Mohawk, and then Mindy clarified.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then item K is Adirondack North Country Sports Council table display request. Does everyone understand the parameters of that, what we're doing?
It's only on Tuesday, right?
Right, for that one, is it
Songs
Songs in the Mirror Lake, is it every Tuesday or just one Tuesday?
Unless they choose not to.
It's every Tuesday, okay.
So I don't want to be, we thought if we grant them this, then that opens the door to other people. I thought we were going to.
Bill was worried about that, but as I said, this is an event that Lake Placid is hosting along with the Sports Council. It's something to promote them, and we felt that was okay. So it's not Bill asking for this, it's Chris Carroll asking for this, and we're in the process of saying yes or no.
Okay, so it's just.
So we'll set a precedent in the future that everyone can have a table there.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, do I have a motion to allow the Sports Council to put a display table?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes. Okay, Jason. You're on, Jason.
I'll make, this made me cry, this is the last one. I'll make a motion that we approve the July 4th fireworks request.
Second.
All in favor? Good
I think we should do a drone show.
Lasers. As soon as
This thing I've ever
I've
heard
been working, we'll be able to do that.
They look pretty cool.
They are cool. And there are a lot of people who don't like fireworks.
A lot of dogs and children. Anything else to come before us?
Yes, actually, I inadvertently left off, but
We'll
you
save
all
the money
heard
next year.
about it the last workshop. Brad is asking for 2 DPW hires to replace the 2 people he lost, so if we could have.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass.
And the second item, just before this meeting started, the next STR application came in. So would we like to set the date for that for our next board meeting?
I would say yes, and I honestly don't remember, does it spell out that this is not a public hearing?
So I went based on the information I could find, and I'm sorry if I did that wrong, it's all a learning curve here, it was our first time doing one of
And
these.
it is a learning curve, and we just look at, I'll have to look at the local law. I think it does say public hearing.
I think so, that's why I thought everybody's allowed to comment on it. So I'll touch base with you before putting in the paper, but how do we feel about the next meeting, which I believe is June 6th at 4:30? And we see now that we need like half an hour for these, so if another one sneaks in, I don't know if we want to start at 4 already, but for now, 4:30.
I suppose we should probably have a deadline for when people can submit them. Let's make that deadline when you have to put the time in.
If you want to be on the agenda, if you want to.
Maybe we can give it one more week, because it's 3 weeks to that next board meeting.
Right.
That way you'll be able to see how many you have
Right.
and adjust the amount of time accordingly.
I don't recollect in the law, how much time do we need to, before
30
we
days.
must, 30 days?
Yeah.
After we hear it.
So that's something
So
you all have
the
to
next meeting we have
discuss.
to-
Wait, at the maximum, right?
Right.
We could do something
Yes.
in a week.
That's right,
Okay.
then we have up to 30 days.
And then I guess, Janet, the next question is, obviously, we have to get together and make a decision. Is that an open meeting or is that something that's closed?
I think it should be an open meeting.
Okay, very good.
You
Okay.
probably have to identify reasons for your decision.
Okay. I am ready anytime in June to have a meeting, just gone before that.
Okay.
Time zones away.
You're here, right?
Will you be here for the first meeting in June?
Okay, so we'll set that for 4:30 and adjust
Are
it.
you talking about the meeting?
I'm talking about the public hearing, because the other one is kind of between
You're talking
you and the
about-
board, like,
Right, but then the other question is, when do we want to get together, or is that the
We talk about it at a work session.
yeah, although there's always so many other things at work session, but theoretically.
Okay, well, we'll have to set a time to discuss that, so seeing as how this is our first one.
Plus, we talked a few times about setting, like, having additional work sessions.
I agree.
talk
Right.
about SDRs.
Yeah, that's what
We should probably do like this week.
That's what our, now they finally answered, that's what you're asking originally, right?
So do we want to go ahead and schedule one right now?
Yep.
Okay, so I am back by the 29th. We have a,
That's Memorial Day weekend, right?
okay, is it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Somewhere maybe in the, let's see, we have our first board meeting on the 6th, right?
Right.
Let's plan any time after that you guys want to get together.
Yeah, but it's gotta be before what's today, the 16th.
It's gotta be before.
30 days, I think it's probably gonna be the 15th.
Okay,
But we're not deciding on the permit, we're talking about the
Maybe the
plans.
6th. So we have to have our workshop before that, or
I'm sorry.
But I think they're talking
Before
about
what?
all of this.
before the next board meeting.
We have a-
We do, we have a
We have
workshop
a
on the
workshop on the
31st.
31st,
Okay.
before the board meeting.
All right, so-
But I'm talking about a special board meeting or workshop where we
What do
just,
you think?
So it's,
I leave Saturday.
oh, this Saturday?
Oh, yeah, there's no time for me
Okay.
between that, trust me.
Yeah, I might be pushing it too.
Said the 31st for an admin, I was like, wait a minute, is that?
And when you're not back till the 29th?
That's correct.
Okay, so.
Maybe Wednesday the 1st?
It was the extra one.
If that's what you guys want, I'll shake my head and I'll be ready.
When?
Wednesday the 1st.
And remember, you're having your regular workshop on Tuesday the 31st, because we bumped it to that date.
Right, and this will be separate, just so we have a
Yes.
chance.
Do you have a full agenda for the
I'd rather do it all
31st?
together.
Just scrap the agenda for the 31st unless there's something.
Well, there's no
urgent.
agenda yet, but Janet, so many things come up for every one of those workshops. I mean, it's up to them if they want to do it all together.
Because Jason can't get there.
Right.
I mean, does anyone else have a problem with that? Just make it a longer one? We actually had a really full workshop. We got through that really
Yeah, that's
pretty good. So I'm sure we can. And really, I think the whole foundation of this is just to get us starting to see where we have common ground and start doing some thinking. I'm talking about the vacation rental.
Well, and it's time then for some of the surveys to come in. review the surveys, you'll see
Some public
public input.
But that should not have any effect on your decision, because the decision is based solely on whether or not they have proven to you.
Oh,
no,
I
That's a
thought we
different
were,
issue, we're talking about.
we're talking,
I'm talking about the variance.
oh, no, this
Okay.
is our workshop to,
The land use code
yes, the land use code.
changes.
We just want to get together and start seeing where we have common ground, where we think we're going, and then so that we can start meeting once a week and keep up with what's going on.
So that we can have something in place by December, or
So we don't-
September 8th.
So we don't run this longer.
extend the moratorium.
And so you do still need another meeting then to discuss
Do you
tonight?
guys, so what Mark is suggesting is let's have it on the night of the 31st. We'll just
Do all
extend
that.
that meeting longer.
Well, okay. And then I don't have to put a separate notice because
Yeah.
there's already.
Should we order
a
food?
notice.
Was
I don't know, I just went black.
it me? I didn't touch anything.
No, but that's
It's that kind of day.
weird.
What'd you do?
What?
Nothing, we'll just.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, good, okay.
Oh, I think he just went to sleep.
Switch,
Oh.
No?
what?
Okay, so everyone's on the
Hold
same
it,
page?
because you're not recording.
Is that a
Yeah.
Well, it
fine.
still is, I don't know what it wanted to do.
I think it was scream that you just went to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so everything will be in,
on the 31st.
on the 31st, and then the next public hearing will be June 6th, 4:30,
Very good.
right? Okay.
Okay, and you're going to wait on that to see how many applicants you have come in, and there'll be a cutoff date,
Yep,
and we can allot enough
talk to
time.
Jim about exactly.
Okay, very good. Anything else from the clerk items?
No, that is all.
Okay, under treasury, warrants. Who did warrants this time? Thank you, Mark.
Jackie left Mark do it this time.
I did.
She was chomping at the bit.
I was like, oh.
I'll let you do it this time.
Do I have a motion to approve warrant number 19?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So moved. I'll approve. Anything else to come from treasury?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing, thank you. Anything under new business? Anything under old business?
Did you all get a chance to review the website?
Yes.
I'm not hearing 4 yeses.
I did.
Uh-huh,
It was
uh-huh,
fantastic, amazing. I loved it.
uh-huh.
It was amazing.
I did.
Okay.
You
Thank
already
you.
got Mark and I, so you're good. Thank you
Yes.
very much. Anything under old business? Okay, under mayor items, I would like to, I'd like to thank Adria Grout and her sister, which they've been doing over and over again with the village cleanup. Also like to thank all the volunteers that made it possible. It certainly does give us a best foot forward when we live here or people come to see us, but thank you very much. And then just a couple of quick comments. The trip to the White House, as you can ask Jackie, was exceptional. We were treated like royalty. It was very nice. It was very nice for the athletes. We sat there with a complete view of all 400 to 600 or 800. I don't know. The number kept changing. But you could tell by looking at them, they were extremely happy about the recognition. They were very happy to be there. And it was a perfect afternoon. I don't know if it was an Army or Marine band, but they were excellent. They played the whole time. And the gal from the Army that sang the Star Spangled Banner was first rate. And we found out that we were actually invited by the White House specially, and they actually sent a special envoy to come out and thank us for coming and what have you. So they treated us first class. What else? Commissioner reports.
Thanks, Ron.
A little bit of a business association report. What had come up out of that meeting is at this point, there's really nobody taking the lead on Holiday Village Stroll, which I know everybody loves. It's been going on for a while.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
it's,
What does that mean? Lori's not gonna,
Lori's gonna be flat out with the 2023 games. Like
Okay.
she can't
And
spearhead
they're-
it.
but that was usually Bruce.
And Bethany from Roost did
Is
it, and
gone.
she's gone.
And
then
Brooke is
just
gone.
left, so
Where'd
we're
Brooke
a little worried about
Brooke
who's gonna
in?
take that on. So
Brooke went to the White Face Inn to replace Kristen Parker as the wedding
wedding coordinator,
planner.
yeah.
Where did,
why is that
Bethany.
happening?
Bethany went to do her own thing.
So generally, we've had meetings by now on the village stroll, we have not had them yet, so
Oh, no.
to be continued.
What is that What does
Kathy
that
Johnson
mean?
do it?
What's that?
Would Kathy Johnson do it?
I don't think so.
Well, she's got a lot of time now.
What's it mean is we're reaching out to Roost and seeing if they can take more of a handle of it because.
Is it just, you don't have to worry about decorations
Well, yeah, no, it's not just, there's a lot of coordination there.
or flower pots?
Just making y'all aware.
Okay, thank you very much.
My daughter's swimming. She's
Yes,
right
I
next to
know.
it.
I know,
I guess
I know.
you've all seen how the construction is going. They've stopped after they passed School Street. They've gone to the intersection of 73 and 86. They broke open the ground today, but they didn't dig any deep holes because they didn't want to get a deluge and have it filled up. So my understanding is tomorrow they're going to start again, continue working back up to School Street. I believe there's also another team, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, that's starting with laterals on this part. And there's another
I don't
team.
know about that.
And there's two teams from Blue Spruce that are working up on Main Street. And the crew is keeping ahead of them with curbing.
I think the laterals are until it's all pressurized, cleaned.
Just going by what Brad said, there are two crews. But
I mean, the water people. Unless they can segregate it like they did the other part, and fill that. That's probably what's happening.
Okay.
You know, from valve to valve, not the whole thing.
And I don't think it's official, but unofficially, it sounds like they're shooting to try to have the binder coat down on the lower part of Main Street by Memorial Day.
Fantastic.
So unless we start running into snow, heavy rain, or problems we don't have, things seem to be back on their merry schedule
They're
again.
moving.
And I believe also they have also gone up Olympic Hill, Olympic Drive with the water, surface water lines and brought the laterals over.
You know, nice little speed bumps as you go up.
And the drains are in place. And then eventually,
Yeah.
I know they're going to mill it and blacktop it. I don't know if that means by June or if that means in October when they do the rest of it. To my knowledge, that's the best I know of what's going on.
Fantastic.
Okay. We have any public left? I guess we have, still have some on TV. Do you have any questions on us?
I just wanted to make sure I was getting the dates right. So
That'll be good for
Yeah, let us know,
everyone.
So our next,
you're,
our next board meeting, let's start there.
June 6th, you're gonna
That's
have
right.
the next variance hearing at 4:30.
Yeah,
Unless we end up with two, and then we'll probably
with
bump it
3
to
or
4 o'clock
4.
start. Yes.
And
depending on-
you're thinking of having a cutoff date to where people could be heard?
Just so that we don't end up.
No, where
saying
people
two
could
in a row.
apply, where there, if
Yeah.
you get your application in by such and such a date, the public hearing would be on June 6th.
Okay,
Not to be heard, but just to have your application in.
Or they'd have to wait till the 20th, so the next.
Right, it's not that we're not allowing them to, it's just that for the next public hearing, they have to be in by a certain date.
do you have the date decided yet
For the public hearing, it'll coincide with our board meeting.
for the cutoff?
Oh, no, that's,
No,
I mean,
depending when you have to put the public notice in.
yeah, it varies how much time the paper needs. I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
We should have, since we're on that topic, we should have a rolling one throughout.
Well, I think we're probably gonna end up every board meeting.
Okay, but I'm just saying that same, once you institute that window ahead of time, that could happen before everybody.
Right, but the problem we have is if we just said yes and set the date now, the time, we could end up having 2 more permits come in and we could adjust the time. So that's why I say, let's wait until we
Yeah.
have to put it in so that we can see how many have come to us
Makes sense.
to try to help move people along as quick as we can. And then we did have a workshop on the 24th, which we have now canceled. It's now going to be on the 31st. And the reason we did that is to have it 1 week before the board meeting. So new things that came up. And then it sounds like we're going to, at the end of that, have a chance for our board to have a chance to talk in a workshop and start discussing vacation rentals. Did I miss anything?
Is that also, at that workshop, you plan to discuss tonight's applications?
That's a good question.
I think that was
Yeah, I
the
think that's
plan.
the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, and then at some point, we want to be able to get on track with what's coming up and start to see where we have commonality.
Okay, and so you would need to vote on tonight's applications by your June 4th meeting?
I believe it's 30 days, is that correct?
That's correct.
So that, I didn't do the math, but
The June 6th meeting, we have to vote
or have a special meeting.
or have a special meeting.
right.
So
Okay,
Explains me why we only tried.
is there anything else tonight?
Yes, I need an executive session to discuss litigation.
Okay. Let's see, so I need a motion to enter into executive session.
Rural country.
So,
second.
All in favor? Can they do that duality or all in favor?
Aye.
Can you two say aye?
Maybe I misunderstood.
Aye.
Side conversation, we need an aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, sorry.
My
He asked me
fault.
a question.
Gotta watch him.
We need a ruler to slap his hands. So he's talking.
They did.
Senate, we are-
Hold on.
I know.
We're hoping that he can get done.
Since we're going into executive session, we are shutting down this meeting.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Janet, you didn't even meet or anything.
You're more than welcome to show up on time.
Come on, Andy, don't you want to hang out?
It's been real, but it has been real.